Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello everybody, I'm Charlene Schmidt.
I'm Patrick Schmidt.
And we just watched Infection, episode 4 of season 1 of Babylon 5, and it is time to babble for 5. Okay, so this was a very interesting one. We have a Monster of the Week kind of thing going on here, and general reaction to this kind of a story?
Those who do not learn from the lessons of the past are doomed to repeat them. It's easier to find something worth dying for than something worth living for. I'm glad we're getting all the cliches out of the way before we get into some real deep, complex storytelling.
This isn't a spoiler, I don't think, is gradually you are going to see things change. There are things already in place that are going to matter later on. Right. You knew that about Babylon 5 going in, and I imagine a lot of people do, because those of us, people like me, who watched the show 20-something years ago, these are the types of things we say to entice you to watch it.
Yeah, and I have no idea where this is going, but I can already start to see that this is one of those shows that even in its episodic nature, the traits of the characters are not little throwaways. The things that you're seeing are building onto or leading to something bigger.
Honestly, I'll give away my hand right now and just say this is not my favorite episode even of the first season. The bad guys are the bad guys. Greed is bad. Okay, that's kind of the
corporations, man.
Right? Interplanetary expeditions does not sound like a great thing. It's actually the character moments and the aftermath that really kind of get me. First off, Steven does not succumb to greed. He's got a moral center. We learned that.
Yeah.
That's important.
Communist.
Okay, settle down. And we have this confrontation, which I think you've been waiting for. Because once again, Sinclair puts himself at the forefront of the situation. Like, he kind of lets Garibaldi handle it for a little while.
Right.
And then when things get really dire, what does he do? He's got to suit up, and he's got to be front and center battling this thing. But Garibaldi has that moment of saying, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, and this episode, I mean, I think they've hinted at it before, but we got much more of a sense of they've got a history. You know, there's some stuff that's gone down between these two. That's one of the most interesting relationships on this series right now, is the one between those two.
Well, I think what Garibaldi says to Sinclair maybe is not a profound revelation to Sinclair, but I think it's revealing to us as an audience just to consider what it means to find something worth dying for rather than something worth living for. So I thought that was pretty profound, but I also really liked what Sinclair said at the very end to the ISN reporter. When speaking of which, you know a few things about news. You've got a background. What did you think about the representation that you saw in this episode of journalism in the future?
This was certainly a very superficial representation of journalism. If you're watching TV news and it seems really superficial, it's because it's television.
Right, they want the soundbite.
Yeah.
And I think Sinclair gives her one heck of a soundbite. She says, is this worth it? I mean, should we just flush it down the toilet and say it didn't happen and take care of ourselves? And Sinclair says, no, absolutely not. We need to go to the stars. Humans' future legacy is in going to the stars.
So in my broadcasting class, I teach the 12-second rule, which is if you got a soundbite, it needs to be 12 seconds or less, or it better be good. That thing's going to get cut down to one sentence. And all the stuff about Marilyn Monroe and all of the 100% of scientists stuff, that's all going to get condensed. And we got to go to the stars because that's where our future is. That's going to be the soundbite. So now, if that's from the journalistic standpoint, from the fan standpoint of trying to get into the show and watch it, there's definitely some stuff there that is, I think, pretty profound. That's where the future is, ultimately, whether, like you said, whether it's a million years from now or not, I suppose is the point of this episode. We saw an advanced race destroy itself.
That's kind of a sci-fi trope, too, is you have this idea of perfection, you send your bots out to purify the thing, and then it commits genocide on everybody because nobody is pure. This is not the most original idea, but it also taps into another not-so-original idea that is much more hopeful and positive. Is it does give you some hope that, hey, you know what? Despite all of our imperfections, despite the fact that humanity can be pure garbage, we just might still find a way to make it. Well, before we go, any more thoughts?
I have a couple more thoughts. One is I now all of a sudden do not trust the judgment of this doctor.
Oh, you don't trust Steven?
No,
Why?
it was, I need your help. Let me give you a 30-second speech. Okay, I'm in. Commander Sinclair has his quarters decorated in what looks like audio foam. I'm just wondering if maybe we're going to hear him sing at some point.
Okay, guys, I think that does it for the episode Infection. Please, if you liked our discussion, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell.
Ding dong.
We release every Sunday and Wednesday, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts on this episode and your journey of Babylon 5 so far, especially for other first-timers. No spoilers in the comments,
No
please.
spoilers.
Please, please, please. And we can't wait to do the next one. So until then,